Hello and welcome to Shell Presents Changemakers of Tomorrow 2025 in association with CNBC TV 18, a platform that brings together innovators, policymakers, academia, entrepreneurs and partners shaping the future of energy. As the world races to reimagine the energy systems, Changemakers of Tomorrow has evolved with new formats, fresh themes and deeper collaboration, spotlighting how innovation, cross-sector partnerships and bold leadership are driving the transition to a cleaner, smarter and more inclusive future. At the heart of this journey is Shell, which continues to invest in India as its largest global hub for talent and innovation, advancing critical initiatives in AI, digital transformation and engineering excellence, while also building solutions for decarbonisation and inclusive energy access. Joining me today to share her perspective on this exciting journey is Mansi Madan Tripathy, Chairperson, Shell Group of Companies and Senior Vice President APAC at Shell Lubricants. Mansi, what an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us here in the studio. It's great to have you.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all mine. And thanks, Shereen, for inviting over here.
Mansi, before we talk about what's happening in the world around us and what's happening in the energy market specifically, let's talk about Changemakers of Tomorrow. This is the third edition. What was exciting about this round particularly?
I think we just wrapped it up and the energy is still with me. I'm still like vibrating.
Pun intended.
Indeed, indeed. And what was really beautiful about is, we talk about the classical always the Trishul or the triad. And, I think in the first one, it was a lot about physical technology. In the next one, we added a lot of like the AI and the digital technology. In this one, we fused the two and added the soul part of it as well, which is the real capabilities and the people behind the physical and the digital technology. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. And it was really heartwarming to see close to 10,000 participants. And we had 80 plus speakers. We had about, 60 new startups over there.
Yeah.
And, again, an 80 plus new ways of doing digital and AI work in the energy ecosystem. So it was very, very exciting.
From the solutions that were presented at the event, from what startups are focusing on, whether it's on decarbonization, using AI technology and so on and so forth, what gives you hope about the fact that we're heading towards a better, brighter, cleaner, smarter future?
So let me start with few and then I can build it up as
that would be nice.
More, So in our plant in Bombay, in Taloja, we have been able to use in the last 6 months a new technology on IO2, which absolutely monitors the energy consumption in every part of the plant.
Okay.
And in real time, on its own, it's able to optimize and switch to, depending on which is cheaper and more efficient, and close down parts of things which are not getting used. And
so just, no human intervention
needed.
No
human intervention needed, And in just those 6 months, we've been able to reduce about 25% of our energy consumption, which then in turn means it's, we are also then offsetting carbon in some way,
and
using
cost.
more cleaner and cost and more cleaner, just as a starting example, right? But then you can elevate it to, the teams our teams in our information technology. In an office space, they are kind of like monitoring 46,000 of our fuel mobility sites globally and close to 40,000 charging stations globally, sitting in India and looking at 35 million transactions every day of consumers and their loyalty cards and each invoice, and giving us tons of analytics in terms of what needs to be done, again, to make our operations more efficient and very, very purposeful, again, from an energy lens per se, right? And then you zoom out in a little bit of the future. We have our global R&D lab, our projects and technology lab in Bangalore, where, we are working on a new technology with our electrolyzers in hydrogen space, which is a solid oxide one, which is making the whole operations close to between 20 to 25% more efficient with some of our partners in Cirrus. So I think it just gives you a plethora of like, things where real work is happening to then say, okay, how do we really ensure that there are solutions to what is coming, right? And as the startup world is moving, we had a startup which is working on a new robotic arm which can go into places which are hard to reach and are at least what they're talking of is like 1/20th cheaper than whatever is the current technology which is available.
Okay. Globally, there seems to be confusion. There seems to be a retreat, at least as far as the large markets are concerned, a political retreat from the agenda of climate, from the agenda of climate change. How is that going to result in the decision making in the boardroom?
Every molecule of, kind of like fossil fuel, which we are able to replace with every electron, is going to add not only to our resilience overall, it is more cost efficient, and it provides that extra energy which is needed. So I think for India, it's an and story, right? And we'll have to do both to get there. And it's in India's favor. The more we can zoom in into the renewable part of the equation, it is more cheaper, it is more efficient, it gives us self-reliance, it gets us into the overall, all the tariff situation and so on and so forth. So there are multiplicity of benefits for us, at least in India. It's not like Europe, it's a substitution, right? But in India, it's an and story, and the faster we can be in that. So in our boardrooms, at least in India, I don't think there is a debate. So it's usually a good and story and a substitution story along the way.
Let's talk about how India is also important to the Shell story from an R&D point of view. And you gave us a glimpse of that with what you're doing in Bangalore. Take us through that, Mansi, on what you've been able to do, how many people are working there for you, how are they reimagining the energy economy, so to speak, with an India imprint?
Yeah. I think when you interviewed our CEO, while Savan a few months back, he talked about India as the beating heart for Shell. And I think that sentiment continues because India remains the biggest footprint of talent globally. So we have close to about 13,000 direct employees. We work with another 10,000 contract staff. And then we have a larger impact on our ecosystem through our distributors and variety of partners which work with us. And I think within that ecosystem, we are currently working on, say, for example, our global IT teams. 70% of that are based in India, right? So I think our capability centers, when we did the benchmarking with the Everest Group in terms of, where do they stand, we are in really the top quartile because we have moved that transition from just wage arbitrage to just an accumulator. We are now entering the zone where, because all that work is getting done together, we are able to get a faster innovation and faster solution and predictiveness as well.
Right.
Yeah? So, for example, one of our teams that works in Chennai is called the Technical Assessment Team, which is a team which looks at all our global assets, about 35 global assets like our refineries or big plants which we run, say, in LNG Canada or in Rhineland or, Oman and all those places, are absolutely monitored 24/7
in
from Chennai.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are through robotics, through electronic eyes, through IoTs, through data modeling. And I think then you can imagine that now we have so many years of cumulative data on every single season, time of the day, kind of people, material with which it is getting used. So we are able to now move to a space where there's a lot of predictiveness which we can say.
Right.
That, okay, now that the sun is going this one, the salt in the water is at this one, and the precipitation levels are here. That pipeline might have a corrosion, and then let's go and do some predictive maintenance on that one. So it started with few assets, but over time we've moved all that. And then these people, earlier there were some sitting in different places in the world. Now they have all consolidated in Chennai.
Okay.
So they are able to learn through, okay, my asset had these issues and these are the solutions which we made. And then other team says, okay, we had this one, and then they're able to cross-collaborate so easily versus if they were more diverse and spread out, right? And I think that's the power of, some of the work which happens from here.
Well, that's, that gives us an indication of how important India is from a global capability center perspective for Shell. But, Mansi, let's talk about the India growth story. And
yes.
At this point in time, the expectation is that, you know, a 7% run rate is what the government is hoping to work with and, of course, improve on that. From that perspective, you know, as a market in itself, not just an R&D center, but as a market, how significant is India likely to be for Shell going forward?
So, I mean, there's undenying that, you know, India becomes like the third biggest demand market from an energy perspective, and hence cannot be ignored at all, right? We do present ourselves with, you know, lubricants. We just bought over from Brintak Raj Petroleum, which is again a proof point that we want to expand our footprint in that sense and become number one from a point of view.
So more M&A in India?
So we just did one, and let's see how, because I think that's from an inorganic point of view, is one potential good route to go through. And then I think on the retail part of the equation, the story is more about how do we improve the operational excellence as we go forward, and then timely see how we want to expand our footprint. The spring energy from a solar always remains. And on gas, you know, we have a 5 million TPA Hazira regasification plant in Gujarat, and then trading in Mumbai. And we want to definitely see, we are working on with government and with all the ecosystem to see what will it take to expand that ecosystem, right? But I guess the commitment to India and the India growth story, I would say, is absolutely on a great path, and Shell wants to walk with and along in that.
So Mansi, you know, I cannot let you go without asking you, we don't really see that many women in this sector. I mean, that, and not just in India, but world over. So your journey to Shell, you know, it's an unusual story, because as I said, this is predominantly, you know, men. So what made you want to go down the energy path?
Some, as they say, is like, you know, coincidence, and some is luck. But I think beyond that, I guess within Shell, I feel very fortunate that there's a very strong D&I philosophy which the company has. In India, we are very, very strong on that one, Shereen. Like in our Chennai one, we have now hit 40% just last month of women participating, which versus industry is more at around 27%. And we want to hit 50% by 2030. So we are working very hard. So it's very intentional is what I would say.
So what have you done differently? Because as you said, it requires intention. You've been intentional about it. What have you done differently to get to that 40% number?
Yeah, so I think as a company, couple of things. One, we've gone to the details of like, what are the critical areas where this chain breaks, right? So we talked of the 4 M's, right? The marriage and maternity, menopause, and then like, you know, parental care is the new one, which has come into the whole piece to really help. And it has to be on an individual basis, right? I can't create a policy which will be, so it has, what you need and another individual need is entirely different. But providing that flexibility through flex hours, through sabbaticals, through return from work policies, from ensuring that you have a work, ensuring that your grades don't get impacted, ensuring that there is a place for you when you come back. I think that mental assurance and the mental confidence that you do what you need to do. And yes, we know it's a blip in your life journey, but we are here, right? So it's okay. You know, you take your time and come back, and then we'll get there. And I think a series of policies behind it. But then I think creating a tribe, I think, is very important. You know, so for example, our retail stations are fully owned by women. And, you know, first we said, okay, there are like 5 men and 2 women. That didn't work. But once we put in the entire shift as women, bloom, you know, it really, no attrition. They work so hard. They work so well. We'll be having in our Hazira plant a full female equipped our transport operating leg. And then in our Taloja plant also, our vision is right now to get a fully operating, you know, women operations over there. So, and every time we have done it, I think the kind of effort and passion we get is so infectious, you know, to the rest of the whole organization that it just helps in just, you know, self-fulfilling in that sense.
You know, we hope that we have more female energy, not just at Shell, but across across all
and thanks for role modeling yourself in that space.
But Mansi, before I let you go, so as we wrap up Changemakers of Tomorrow 2025, what's the one thing that you would look forward to for 2026?
Yeah, I think I would look for more tangible application of what we have done. I think there's a lot of work which is in making, but I think the more we can bring it here and now, and the elephant in the room is data cleanup.
Yeah.
So I think how quickly we can go over that hurdle and ensure that all of us work in delivering and have that pace of creation but delivery as well. So I think the delivery would be my key word over here.
And that is a word that we will focus on as well. But Mansi, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here in our studio to talk to us about Shell in India, but more importantly, the vision that you have for Changemakers of Tomorrow. It's been an absolute pleasure. Many thanks for your time.
Pleasure is all mine, and thanks for the opportunity.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up the CNBC TV 18 special, from nurturing Changemakers of Tomorrow to positioning India as a global technology powerhouse and driving low-carbon growth through innovation and collaboration. Shell's strategy reflects both ambition and accountability. From all of us here, many, many thanks for watching.